Good evening, everyone. My name is Mitch Cohen, and I chair the Northborough Select Board. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of the 4th of December, 2023. Call the meeting to order. I will read some opening remarks. This open meeting of the Northborough Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Northborough Select Board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The Act allows the Northborough Select Board to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream or the recording of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. I will now go around the virtual room and make sure everyone can hear and be heard. In order on my screen, Lisa.
I can.
Julianne.
Aye.
Kristen.
Here.
Laura.
Yes.
Everyone's got a different way of doing it. Excellent. We also have with us interim town administrator Mike Gallagher. Hi, Mike.
Present.
Okay, so for those watching at home, we are going to go into an executive session now, and then at 7 o'clock, or hopefully shortly thereafter, we will come back to open session and continue with the bulk of our meeting. Is there a motion to go into that executive session?
Mr. Chair, I move the board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and negotiations with the Northborough Firefighters Union Local 3057 IAFF pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A2 to conduct strategy sessions and or contract negotiations with Town Administrator Timothy McInerney, and pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. SA Farm. Due to the chair's determination that a discussion regarding these matters in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the board.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Kristen, seconded by Lisa. Any discussion? All those in favor, Kristen.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Julianne.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. We are now going to executive session, and we'll see everyone back here at 7 or shortly thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good evening, everyone. We've concluded our executive session. Thank you for your patience. We'll wait for the board members to join in. We'll just kind of hang out.
Hello. Can I be heard?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Hello.
Just waiting for Lisa. We are, I assume, live on YouTube and so forth while we're here.
Thanks
I
for
see
the
we
reminder.
we have a telephone caller, and I never remember what people need to press to join in. Okay. So telephone caller, at any point, if you want to raise your hand, if you don't know already, *9 is to raise and lower your hand. Okay, so we're just waiting for Lisa.
Finally.
Okay, let's give it one more moment. Hey, well, it being 7:27, let's continue on. All right, so we're returning to open session, and the next item on our list is public comment. If there is anyone in our audience who wishes to express any input or ask any questions, primarily for things that are not on our agenda further, raise your virtual hand. I'll be more than happy to recognize you. Going once. Going twice. Okay. See nobody up for public comment. Approval of meeting minutes of November 15th, 2023. We're going to be passing over for give the office a little bit more time on those. And next up, number 6 on our agenda is interview with Lieutenant Brian Griffin and possible vote to appoint Lieutenant Griffin as police chief effective January 1, 2024. I'm going to bring in Lieutenant Brian Griffin.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to start my video.
Okay, great.
Here we are. How's it going?
Very good, sir. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you, sir.
Good, good. So, a little strange in that we're interviewing someone we all know already. So we've had a lot of interviews, of course, for the town administrator position. We were meeting people new for the first time. This isn't the case here. I'll open it up by just saying that we received your letter of interest for the police chief position, which of course becomes vacant when Chief Liver retires at the end of this month. And you are the only candidate that we received an application from. It was an internal search, given that we knew you were interested. So I will start by saying, why don't you tell us maybe a little bit of something, even something about yourself, and then we'll go around the virtual room and see if anybody has any questions for you, and why you're interested in becoming chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Board. Thank you, Diane, for giving me this opportunity. I obviously sent you a little bit about me, but for those who are watching, I'd be happy to state it again. 23 years ago, I was driving down Route 20, and my phone rang, and Chief Hutchins, at the time, who was the chief, called me to say he was going to hire me. And besides marrying my wife and having my kids, that was one of the best days of my life, receiving that phone call. It was a dream job, and to work for him, knowing the type of people he hired, it was such an honor to have worked for him. So backtracking just a little bit, I was born and raised in Northborough. I'm the youngest of 6 children, 4 older sisters, and an older brother. And I'm proud to say my older brother works right down the hall from me at the same building that I do. So that's pretty neat. My parents still live in town, and they're both very active in town. My wife is a school teacher in town. I have 4 boys, ages 15, 13, 11, and 7, who keep me active when I'm not here. I went to Algonquin. I played sports there. I was in the class vice president. Kind of involved in a lot of different activities while in high school. After high school, I attended Northeastern, and eventually graduated with a criminology degree from Assumption College. It's now a university. It was a college back then. So that was back in 2000. And then about a year out of college, I worked at the Milliken Middle School for a year. I was an instructional aide, working with a variety of the different population at the school, special needs and behavioral issues, those type of things. During that time, I was also fortunate enough to go back to Algonquin, where I coached football and baseball. And about a year after that, so that would have been 2000, there was an opening for the police department. And that's back to my original story of the phone call from Chief Hutchins. I applied. I knew it was a job I wanted. I knew I wanted to stay in town. I really didn't have an interest in going to a larger agency or going to the state police or the federal level. My family's rooted here. I'm a rooted person. And when I was hired, I had absolutely no plan on leaving. I had a goal of advancing my career. The earlier part of my career, I was your patrolman working the overnight shifts and evening shifts and day shifts. And I like to stay busy. I was in the community a lot. I like to be visible and be somebody that people could come up and talk to me as a young officer. And I've kind of always maintained that. At least I hope I have. I kind of rose through different ranks. I went to detective sergeant, and ultimately lieutenant. And during my time as lieutenant, the only drawback to this position as a lieutenant is I'm really not out on the road. People like, hey, where have you been? Haven't seen you around. I'm much more involved in the behind the scenes operations of the police department, from policy and procedure, writing policy and procedure, doing our accreditation, which have been doing for the past year and successfully just got us reaccredited, doing training in making sure our officers are meeting the appropriate standards for being a police officer in Massachusetts. So that's the one drawback for the position as a lieutenant. But I did learn a lot. I did learn a lot of things. And in that, what I learned came a lot from Chief Liver And as you know, he only has a few weeks left. And I really can't thank him enough for what he has shown me, being a mentor, showing me a lot of things I didn't know about the job, even though I've been here for 23 years. He has given 44 years to this town. That's a long time. He has given his heart and soul to this police department. He is very, very, very proud of this police department. And I know at a meeting of yours a couple meetings ago in October, when he was supporting me, he said some really just kind words about me. And for that, I will always be grateful for. We've had great leadership that I've worked under, starting with Chief Hutchins and Chief Leahy for 13 years, and now Chief Liver. And if I'm giving this opportunity, I just hope to follow their lead. I'm going to put my own mark on things a little bit, but things are really good right now here. People have asked me, why do you want to become a police chief? I want to become a police chief here, nowhere else. And that's because, one, we have a great town. I'm proud of the town. I grew up in town. We have great staff at the town hall. We have a supportive select board. We have supportive citizens. Our citizens, our residents support us. And that is, our officers see that and they hear that, and it's very much appreciated. And the other main reason is I work with the best police officers, dispatchers, and administrative support staff around. We hire great people. We really do. And that's a testament to the past chiefs. We hire officers who are smart. We hire officers who are caring. And we hire officers with just strong values, and dispatchers in our support staff. For that reason, putting in for this position was a simple decision for me. So I would be honored if you would consider appointing me police chief. I can't stress enough. Thank you for all of your support, the select board, Michael Gallagher and Diane Wackel. Thank you for the support during this process. And that's a little bit about me. And again, should I be appointed tonight, I look forward to kind of leaving the office a little bit and getting back out to my original roots and getting out and talking to people and communicating with people. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Lieutenant Griffin. Go around the virtual room. Do members have anything they would like to ask our candidate? Oh, it was a tie between Julianne and Kristen. Julianne, I'll give it to you.
Well,
as a senior member of our board.
hey, that's right. So, hello, and Lieutenant Griffin, I don't know if you've thought about this yet, so just say I haven't thought about it. But my question is, other than continuing in the footsteps of your predecessors to maintain the excellent Northborough Police Department, do you personally have any goals for the department of your own?
I do, Ms. Sersh, and I think short-term goals, if appointed chief tonight and effective January 1st, my first goal is to meet with my department as a whole and discuss those ideas. I think it's important that I communicate some of those thoughts with them first, and I want to hear from them. I think there's, we're a young police department. We I don't know what the average age is, but they're a lot younger than me, and I think we need to appreciate that and talk to the younger staff and see what some of their ideas are. I have some long-term goals of possibly, just two off the top of my head would be I really want to get connected with our senior population more. Whether that's a liaison officer, specifically kind of assigned to our seniors that they could reach out to. Clearly, any one of our officers could handle a matter involving a senior, but there's so many crimes right now we're dealing with identity fraud and things like that that impact our senior population, that it would be nice if we could have maybe one officer as the liaison to that group. That's just one of the ideas I had. But I think I do have a lot of ideas, but I'd rather just kind of meet with the group in early January, and I'd be happy to discuss them further after that meeting, if that's okay with you.
Of course it is. And that's a great answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kristen.
Hi, Brian.
Kristen.
I've had a couple of experiences where I spoke to you in the one time I was at the police station. Chief Liver gave me a tour, and I met your brother. And since you brought him up, do you think it would be weird for you to be the chief with your brother your big brother? I didn't know you were younger. I don't.
Yeah, I am. I'm younger, and I'm older. I mean, he's older. I'm younger. It's a great question. It's never been a problem. I've worked with him for 23 years. We've worked in different roles. We've always had that respect of each other and of each other's positions, where it's never been. It's always just kind of worked out through just talking to each other. So it's never been an issue, and I don't foresee it ever being an issue.
Great. Okay, that's good. And just out of curiosity, so which elementary school did you go to?
I was a Peasley.
You were
Panda,
a
not Pandy.
Peasley
Yeah.
Panda.
Yes, Peasley School.
Peasley. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
The right answer. Thank you.
There we go.
I don't know if that was the right answer.
There we go.
Peasley mom.
Depends what side of the tracks you live on, right?
The board's divided. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thanks, Kristen. Laura.
Welcome, Lieutenant Griffin. It's good to see you, and thank you so
Laura.
much for for all you've done for our town and continuing to look to this new opportunity.
Thank you, Laura.
You bet. So what are you most looking forward to in this new position?
Yeah, I thought about that too, and honestly, I'm still going to be in an office, but it's really just getting out. It's those public events, like I was at the Christmas tree lighting the other night. It's just those little things that, as a lieutenant, it wasn't really my job to be the face of the department. So I used to like talking in public, and when I was a detective, I did a lot of talks at the high school on various topics, drugs and alcohol and stuff. And I really enjoyed that. So I've missed talking to people in this role. I'm really downplaying this lieutenant role, but it's a great job too. But I just had so much work to do in an office, and I really missed communicating with people. So that's what I'm most looking forward to, is getting out, finding out what people, residents, business owners, staff, listening to people, finding out what their needs are, finding out what their quality of life matters are in town, and seeing how we can best address it. So that's what I'm most looking forward to, is really just getting out and talking and listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Very good. I don't see any other hands up. I'll ask a question. Are there, for yourself, this would be presumably January 1st, you'll be the chief. My assumption is there are some trainings or certifications or some things you would want to do to further educate and better yourself. I'm curious what those are. and how you plan to go about that while also being a chief.
Sure, and that's a great question too, Mitch. In the sheet I gave you, a couple of years ago, thinking that this is maybe the route I wanted to take, I started pursuing some certifications in budget and employee law. There's really a lot to learn, and that's something I'm still going to be learning. I'm fortunate to have learned a little bit through the chief and through Karen Mueller, our administrative assistant, who's fantastic. But those aren't, those, I got to keep working on that. I got to keep going to those type of trainings. Employee law is super important. Any sort of leadership training that's out there, I love to attend just to see what else is, what other people are doing. Attending conferences, networking, seeing what other police chiefs are doing, and what is the town of, what is Marlborough doing? What is Westboro doing? Just getting out in those settings where you can network, and that's through our Mass Chiefs of Police Association. That's super important. You pick up so many little things. Even our accreditation process, which, as you know, we just completed, where myself and all of our sergeants are assessors. So we try to go to one assessment a year in another town. And that requires myself or a lieutenant or the sergeants to go out to another police department for 3 days and to see what they're doing there. We're there for a purpose. We're there to assist in the accreditation, but oftentimes we're taking tidbits back with us to possibly implement here. So any sort of networking like that, I'm all for.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions, Lisa?
Well, the reason I'm not asking a lot of questions, which I normally do, is that I was very fortunate to have a tour of the police station, and speaking with you during that tour, we discussed a lot of things. We discussed the value of promoting from within and all of the benefits that the town actually gets by doing that, and that you've worked hard to get to where you are today. And I think that I feel confident. I hope we have a lot of see you more often at our meetings and hear what you may have accomplished or what you plan to do. And as we have been, more quiet in the past with COVID and everything else, and look forward to having a new face and new ideas coming forward, innovation, and look forward to having you on the group.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Are there any other questions from the board? Sounds like that has concluded our questions. At the end of an interview, I like to turn the tables. Are there any questions you would like to ask of us? It's okay if there are none.
You caught me there, Mitch. I didn't have that prepared. Not at this time. I think I'm all set, but thank you for that opportunity.
Great. Thank you.
That was the right answer.
I think that concludes the interview part of this. If the board would so choose, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the board vote to appoint Lieutenant Brian Griffin to the position of police chief effective January 1st, 2024, subject to successful negotiation of an employment agreement.
Second.
Motion made by Julianne, seconded by everybody. Let's see. I'll give it to Kristen. But I heard all three voices simultaneous, and I think that's excellent. Are there any other discussion from the board? Okay. Before calling for a vote, I will say, obviously, this is the formal part of it. Presumably, after a successful contract, you'd be formally sworn in when the time comes, and I hope that we can have a little reception to sort of formally welcome you in your new role and introduce you to the public in your new role sometime in January.
Sounds great.
Okay. With that said, all those in favor: Julianne.
Aye.
Kristen.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
I also vote Aye. The vote is unanimous in favor. We have a new police chief.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Chief-elect Griffin, if I can
Thank
call you
you. I
that.
like that. Sounds nice. Chief-elect.
Congratulations. Thank you
all.
very much for continuing your career in Northborough. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And I look forward to a more formal ceremony where we can meet in person. And thank you all so much for your support. And I may be on for the next agenda item. So I don't know if I should leave or just stay on.
Let's see.
Because
you might. Yeah, I think. That does make sense for you to stick around.
All right. Hi, everybody.
If you would like. All right. So that concludes.
It's hard.
It's hard to conclude an item like that and just go on to other business. But here we go. Next up on our agenda is appointing Detective Christopher Bazell as licensing agent effective January 20th, 2024. Mike, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to tell us about this. I'm assuming, Brian, that you are the current licensing agent, and we need to give it to somebody else.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could through you, yes, Lieutenant Griffin is the current licensing agent. We need to do that, and that would be effective January 1st of 2024. With his promotion into the chief's position, we would then need to have someone else as the licensing officer. So that's what we would like to do.
Okay. Sounds reasonable. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Lisa, this would perhaps be a good time for you to look down.
I'm looking down and I'm seeing, I move the board to appoint Detective Christopher Bazell to act as licensing agent on behalf of the select board effective January 1st, 2024.
Second.
Motion made by Lisa, seconded by Julianne. Any other discussion? All those in favor, Lisa?
Aye.
Julianne?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. Thank you very much. So that is all set for us to continue with the licensing agent in the police department, which is important. And that concludes that item. And I think that concludes, Brian, your time.
Thank you very much, everybody.
You're always welcome to hang around as long as you'd like, but I'm going to send you back to attendee land.
Okay. Now. Have a great night. Thank you.
Good day. Thank you.
Aye. Congratulations.
Okay. All right, next up, we have Fire Chief David Parenti for discussion regarding the application for the SAFER grant presentation and possible vote of approval. So, Chief Parenti, going to bring you in.
Evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good. Deputy Aspesi should be out there as well.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask if there's anyone else you wanted me to bring in.
Yeah.
Okay. Down.
Hey, there he is.
Hello, everyone.
Deputy, how are you? Very good. All right. So, do you have a presentation that you would like to provide for us? I know you sent some things that were in our packet.
Yep. I do have a presentation. Before I share, if I may just take a little liberty and say the decision you just made is an outstanding decision. I have had the pleasure of working with both Detective Bazell and as Lieutenant Griffin for several years now, both incredible peace officers. I actually went to class with Buzzy and I went to a class for active shooters together. Just a great decision, and it'll be excellent leaders moving forward.
Thanks.
I assume you can see. Can you see the SAFER grant, or do you see? Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. So the reason we're coming before you today is to talk about the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response grant that came out in 2004. At that time, FEMA, who was the sponsor or the main sponsor of this grant, Recognize that fire departments across the country, both career departments and call departments and volunteer departments, were having difficulty staffing. And they came up with this program, this paper program, to help departments hire personnel and to retain personnel, to recruit volunteer personnel. It's been a great program. It's for primarily for fire department activities, ambulance activities, medical services, prevention, risk reduction. This grant's gone through several iterations. It's been everything from a 5-year grant to a 3-year grant, which it is now, and for 100%, and then which it is now. I think before it was 75%. It's been crazy. It's been all over the place. So this is where we are now. So one of the things that one of the big reasons that they recommend this change or this grant is so we can meet the NFPA 1710, 1720 standards. Now, NFPA is the National Fire Protection Association. And they set out requirements or recommended standards that says for a typical house fire, now this doesn't include a strip mall or a multifamily. This is a typical house fire. You should have 15 firefighters on the initial. We have 5 on duty. So what we've done since I've come here, and they had started it before, but we expanded it even more after I got here, is we've entered into automatic aid agreements with our neighbors, Marlborough, Westboro, Shrewsbury, Berlin, Southborough. So when we get a report of a fire, all those departments are coming with us on our automatic alarm. They have further to travel, obviously, because they're coming from their departments, but it does count as part of our initial deployment of people. However, they have to be available, and all departments are getting busier and busier. It's pretty crazy right now what's been happening. We spent some time in Westboro today for 3 calls. And we are relying on mutual aid quite often as well. In order to understand my request or our request, I want to give you a brief history of the staffing of the department. So in the early 80s, we had a full-time chief and 2 full-time firefighters, daytime people. As demand increased and volunteers or call firefighters weren't as available, work changed. People didn't just release. Back when I first started, if we had a fire, all the volunteers could leave work and come in. That doesn't happen anymore. People don't allow that. So that resulted in the 90s in an increase or a request for 24/7, 365 coverage. And we had 2 firefighters working 24-hour shifts and then 2 firefighters working day shift to supplement that. In 1999, then Chief Durgan said he wanted to go from a basic life support ambulance to an advanced life support ambulance. And the goal was to have staffing of 1 officer and 3 firefighters 24 hours a day. And it took until 2009 to get that staffing level. That just happens sometimes by the time we get everyone hired and can actually figure out what they need to do. In the meantime, Chief Durgan said, okay, in 2002, he said, you know what? We need 6 members to staff. At that time, the board determined that we didn't need that. In 2009, he said, okay, we need 6 people. And as a result of Avalon Bay and Northborough Crossing coming in, we're going to implement fees on them and initially use that money to fund those positions. And according to my research, those positions were funded and approved, but they were never filled. And I do not know why they weren't filled. I can't find anything that says why they weren't filled. Yes, I'm getting text telling me my microphone's in and out, and that's just because I have terrible coverage on my head. I apologize. In 2013, Chief Durgan again asked to increase, and this time he wanted to go 1 officer and 7 firefighters. And he also requested at that time to put on a deputy chief and a full-time fire prevention officer. That is what led to the 2015 study that I commented on in my memo to the board. So they did the study in 2015, and the information they used was primarily from 2013 and 2014, the data they used. And it covered not just fire, we had our own report, but then police and dispatch had their own. But the study was completed in 2015, and it said, hey, at this time, what you need is 1 officer and 4 firefighters per shift. You need 5 guys per shift. We were only running 4 per shift. You also need a new station. You also need a deputy chief. So I came on in 2016. And in 2016, I was given the job to go ahead and begin that hiring. And all that study was based on workload and on call volume and on multiple units and our transports. And I went through and I did some studies after I came on. And around 2017, I said, you know what? We need more people. This just isn't cutting it. And I spoke with the town administrator and I said, can I put in for a SAFER grant? I'm going to get one person per shift. I'm going to put in for a SAFER grant and have some people work it. So we went ahead, we wrote up the SAFER grant, had all the data, all the support for it, all the supporting data for it, came into the town administrator and he said, no, I'm not going to sign that. I'm not going to approve it. I don't know if it went to the board at that time. I can't tell you. I know I only worked through the town administrator at that. From 2017 to 2018, I'm sorry, from 2017 to 2023, I spoke with the town administrator multiple times. I advised him of the need for additional people. Advised him of the need for a deputy chief. I put in numerous supplemental requests, and we didn't get that. And I understand that doesn't mean every time someone asks for something, they get something. But I want you guys to understand the history and that this isn't. I heard a statement at one of a previous meeting that I hadn't heard about it before, but we've put in numerous times, and I just think that's important for you guys to understand. In June of this year, we kind of hit a crisis point. And after coming out of COVID, our numbers were still going up. Our workload was going up. We were having to force people to work more often because of the level of burnout. And I reached out to the then interim town administrator, and I said, look, I need to start dropping people down to 4 people. I'm just mental well-being and the physical health of these people. I need to stop working. And at the same time, I made them aware that my intent was to apply for a SAFER grant. And I included that. I put all that information in the memo, which I assume was sent forward to the board. I don't know, but I assume the board saw it at that time. And my intent with that SAFER grant is to put on 8 people. And let me tell you the benefits that I recognize, that I think we'd recognize for the town of North. So I apologize, I went too far. So the first thing and most importantly is our firefighters' health. And I apologize for the clock in the back. It'll stop after a few more chimes, if you can hear that back there. Most importantly, as I said, the well-being and the health of our people and the services they provide to our community. The ability to respond to additional and overlapping calls. Unfortunately, over 20% of our calls are overlapping calls now, and sometimes 2 deep, sometimes 3 deep, 4 deep. The ability to attract and retain highly qualified firefighters and paramedics. We've lost 5 recently. They're leaving for other departments, and one of the reasons they stayed is the workload is just too much for them. And they like being busy, but being busy is one thing, being overloaded is. We see a possible anticipation of an increased ambulance fee collection rate of around $120,000 because we give up EMS runs because we have to call mutual aid ambulances in because we're tied up for our own calls, our second or third calls. So we end up giving those calls away. Adding additional members, adding 2 per shift, would give us the option of actually dropping when needed be for vacation or sick or to 6. And we would recognize the savings in overtime if we did that of about $250. We see that as a great benefit as well. Now, the data that I cited to you earlier, this is kind of important. The population in 2015 was 14,150. Population in 2020 was 15,741. So we've gone up, and I think obviously we all know that we've gone up even higher. Calls for service in 2015 were a little over 2,000. Last year we were at 2,553. Calls per service per day are up. Overlapping calls, and this is an important one. 2 or more calls 216 times in 2015, 373 times in 2015. 3 or more calls 22 times in 2015, 54 times. 4 or more calls only 2 times in 2015, and 13 times in 2022. Our transports went from 962 to 1,446. And those transports are what really chews up our time. Sometimes our turnaround time is 45 minutes an hour at the hospital. And our workload per unit, which is the number of calls per unit, has gone from 3,224 to 4,352. In addition to that, our firefighters do over 2,000 hours of training every year. We do 941 non-emergency details, over 1,000 inspections, over 1,000 permits. We run a senior safe program and a safe program for the students. We did over 72 events in 2022, and we interacted with more than 4,000 people. So what exactly are we asking? We're asking for funding to hire. We're asking to hire 2 additional members. That funding will be provided for the first 36 months, 100% by FEMA government. Now, what that covers is all salary benefits, and contractual items that are in the CBA. It doesn't cover things such as uniforms. It doesn't cover overtime. It doesn't cover training and firefighter turnout gear. Those costs. At the end of those 3 years, the town absorbs the salary, the benefits, and all costs for all the persons. So doing some, when we first spoke with the chair about this, he wanted us to sit down with the then finance director and with the town administrator and see if we could get some solid numbers about what this was going to be. And looking at the numbers, our grant would be worth a little over about $2.7 million, $2.67 million is what the grant for the course of 3 years. At the end of those 3 years, the town would have to absorb just slightly over $1 million, $1,033,360. If done in such a way that we increase our budget over those 3 years a little bit each year, we avoid having the impact all occur in that last year. I want to thank the members of the board that actually that came down and spoke with us over myself and the deputy over the last 2 weeks, and I hope I was able to give you some information that helped you along with this decision. And we are here if there's any questions. So I can drop down my presentation so we can at least see each other again, because I hate when all I can see are these little boxes of you guys. It drives me nuts. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I can see you all again. So if there's any questions, please jump right in. And we do want to. I don't want to put the guys. What I don't want to do, folks, is have several firefighters spend several months putting together a grant that they work very hard for, and then come to the board and the board say, no, we're not in. So I don't think it's fair to them. I think it's fair to them to come to you, give you the information we can give you, and have you say, yes, go ahead. That's what we're hoping to get tonight. The window for the grant opens in February. The grant is currently scheduled to sunset next September. Now, whether or not the federal government brings it back depends on whether it's election year or not election year sometimes. It's hard to tell right now where everyone's leaning, but if we're lucky enough, they will bring it back. If you have any questions, myself and Deputy Space would be more than happy to.
Kristen, question.
Hi, thanks, Chief. So 2 questions. So the slide you showed that was the difference between 2015 and 2022, I believe. I did take
Correct. Yep, it was 2022. I didn't use 2023 because I wanted the whole year.
Yeah, okay. And it was, oh well, how detail oriented of you, because it is December and a lot of people call that the end of the year, but not you. Good for you.
No, I'm a little anal when it comes
You're
to
a numbers guy. Yeah.
You have to be accurate. If I can't reproduce it right, then I'm lying to you guys.
Right. Okay, so yeah, so I took a screenshot of it. So these numbers are pretty dramatic. Just ambulance transports 962 in 2015, and in 2022 it was 1,446 workload per unit. So what does unit mean? You have 3 units?
Great question. So each piece of equipment, each apparatus, they're just separate. But when we have a med call, you're going to get 2 units responding to that med call. So that would be 2 runs, because there's 2 units responding to that. We don't count those as incidences, but we're telling you how many times those trucks are going out call.
Okay. And so it's a difference between 3,000, sorry, 224 runs.
It's about 1,000 more runs.
Yeah. And 4,000, yeah, a little more than 1,000. So,
Yep.
Okay. And so the big question is the number of staff the same in 2015, did you have the same number of staff you had in 2022?
In 2015, we had 4 people per shift. In 2022, we had 5 people per.
Okay. But the numbers have increased quite dramatically.
Quite, yeah. And that's not unusual. So when companies come in and they do this study, they come in, they look at the numbers right then. Here's our numbers. Here's what you need for coverage for these numbers. We don't know where we're going to be. We don't know where we're going to be in 5 years or 10 years. We couldn't predict COVID. We had no idea what was going to happen with COVID. We couldn't predict all the extra details, all this. So we start doing hazardous materials. We start doing more search and rescues. We start doing a lot more calls. And we have an aging society, which keeps us busier as well. And we can't, the population in town change. That all affects them.
Yeah. I mean, I just think of the difference in the number of people and the number of buildings and
Yep.
So okay. And then my other question was on the next slide, you had something called non-emergency detail. What is that?
So back when I first got here, details, which are if somebody's welding and they need to hire a firefighter, because I require for welding. Someone's blasting and they need to hire a blaster. They need to hire a firefighter to oversee the blasting. For ambulance calls, for the road races. The road race we do for Applefest.
Yeah.
Football games. Those are all non-emergency details.
Okay.
When I first came here, those were actually counted as incidences. So that number that you saw, that 2025 number you saw, included all those emergency details. I stopped counting those as emergencies because they're not. They're
Right.
pre-scheduled. We're bringing people in. So that number that you see, the 2,553, is not counting any emergency details. That's why I put on top of that, we're doing another 900. So if I had included those in, our incident numbers would be over 3,000. They were back then.
Right. Yes. And I was reading your chief's report as I was instructed to do at your office.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
You read my report. So I did. And I mean, I read it a lot more carefully than I usually do. Honestly, I used to just look at the graphs more, but I was reading about the blasting. So can you just quickly tell me a little bit about what who is requesting blasting permits and why? I assume it's
sure. I'd be happy to explain that. Oh, we have a quarry in town, as you all probably know, at 200 Southwest Cutoff, right? So whenever they blast, they have to contact us. So actually, their company they contract with, which is Main Drilling and Blasting, and I've worked with Main Drilling and Blasting for many years. They reached out to us through our portal, and they say on our webpage, and say, we're going to be blasting on this day. They're required to have a firefighter on site when the explosives arrive until the blast occurs, which our firefighters are on site at about 6:45 in the morning on the day that they're blasting, and they're there till probably around 1 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock, depending on when they're done. And the firefighters are ensuring that they're following all the required rules. Are they giving the notifications to the neighbors that they have to? Are they shutting down the highway? Are they using what are they using? How much explosives are they using? How many blasts are they doing? All of that stuff, and they record it all. And that all comes back to me the next day, along with all the seismograph charts. And I review, did they follow all the rules? Did they do the notifications? Did they do everything? And was all the seismographs right? And we review that to ensure whether or not we're going to give them a blasting permit the next time they want to blast. So that's done for every blast. And when people are building, sometimes we've had blasts that had to happen out on South, where there's lead. Out on Brewer Road, we had blasting out. Again, whenever there's blasting, they have to have a fire.
Okay. Okay. And so that seems like a pretty specialized expertise that the firefighters have to have to.
They're all trained. Before they can take a blasting detail, they have to be trained. Before they can take a welding detail, they have to be trained, and the requirements are. That took a really big leap forward. Several years ago, 2 firefighters in Boston died as a result of welding that was being done without a permit, properly be done in fire. And things really took off after that. And all the firefighters have to have the training before they can do the weld.
Okay. Okay, good. Wait, I had one more question about oh shoot. Okay, well, let somebody else go. I've been hogging anyway. I'll come up with it in a second.
All right. Oh, Mitch, you're muted.
I was muted. I get my one chance. Julianne.
Well, I actually have a follow-up question to Kristen's question. So when you something like go on site for a blasting operation, do the companies reimburse you?
Yeah. So it's actually paid at a completely different rate, and it's paid into a revolving account. So we have a revolving account for detail. Within the collective bargaining agreement that the union has with the town, there's a separate rate for blasting for detail. And what we do is we charge whoever's requesting the detail, whether it's a blasting detail, an ambulance standby, whether someone's working on a sprinkler system and shutting it down, they get charged a rate slightly higher than what we pay the firefighters to cover for administrative costs. So that there's no cost to the town, any details. It's all covered by whoever the requester is, whether it's an ambulance standby at a football game or a race, or if it's a welding detail at a business.
Okay, and my second question is, in the report we received in our packet, you listed many, many, many towns who have taken advantage of this grant.
Yes.
Have you heard any anecdotal stories about how the town then absorbed the extra staff into the town budget?
Yeah, there's several ways to do it. Some depending on the size of the community. I'm going to be pretty specific. Okay, so Worcester just got one this year for 8.6 million, I think. A city the size of Worcester can probably 8.6 million may be able to absorb that in 1 year. Most communities, like our size communities, what they do is they ramp up. So next year or this year, when we put in the budget, they would increase our budget by $250,000. And that money would be used to buy the turnout gear, or, maybe provide some additional training, because some of these new firefighters would need additional. And every year you increase that extra amount by a little bit. So it's not this big $1 million hit in the last year. It's small increments each year. And by the time you hit the 4th year, you're there.
Okay, and I just want to clarify one thing, which makes me feel a little better about, because we do have to look at the repercussions of this, right?
Of course you do.
I think you mentioned in the report that we already spend $250,000 on overtime. So that will probably, we would go away, right?
No. And it's important. That doesn't go away. We still have to. Our departments don't make widgets, right? We have to staff. We have no choice. Right now, we're staffed at 5 people a shift. If we hire 2 per shift, we can drop 1 and dropping it if we have to. So we're running 7 people a shift. Somebody takes vacation. We can drop down to 6 people per shift and not fill that position. That's where you would see a savings. If we only hire 1 person per shift, we'd have to maintain at 6 all the time. The only reason we've dropped right now is because of the workload, the physical and mental toll it was taking on our people. Because I have guys in school. I have 3 people in school right now, paramedic school and the fire academy. It was just taking and we're running short because we've had people leave. So it just takes a real toll. But the savings would be realized if we hired 7 people and we could drop, we'd be able to save in that time. But it would still be an increase. There's not a decrease in overtime in our current.
Okay, thank you.
That's important. Yep.
Lisa.
Just to follow up on that. So when you hired the new people coming in, so you're going to hire 8, whatever
Mhm.
shift, is not the intention of doing some of that not only for the health and welfare of the men and for the people that they have to go out and help?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Were you not finished with your question?
No, not yet.
Okay, I apologize.
But the overtime is not covered by this grant. That grant money is just for the regular, how many hours a week that an employee works in that position.
That is correct.
So you have
Yes.
to pay uniforms, and you have to pay for education, and you have to pay for overtime. At least those 3: medical, I imagine, health insurance and that sort of thing also.
That's all covered. Health insurance is covered. That's all covered. Yeah,
That's all covered. But
that's
the
all covered.
3 other things are not, where it's
Mhm.
training, uniforms, and overtime. But it's with the idea that it's not just to make it a healthier, a better work environment. It also is to help, again, with the finances on the other side, where instead of somebody working a double shift because we don't have anybody there, putting them in trouble, so to speak,
Mhm.
that does kind of back up and then help some of that overtime expense to be reduced.
Yeah,
Because-
yes, you're correct.
Did you happen to do any figures as to what the difference of that was, like what the benefit was?
You mean how much money would be realized? Is that what you're asking? So if we hire 7 people as opposed to 6, we would be able to save probably an average. Now, save is a tough word. So what I'm saying is, if we hire 7 people and we drop that one person and go to 6 people, if we have to, we would realize a savings of about $250. If we hire 7 people, if we hire 6 people, you don't see that savings because we can't drop. We have to fill.
Okay, your mic's broke up a couple of
I
times.
apologize. Is that better?
That's better now.
Keep trying. The deputy may have a better connection than I have, so if he's more than willing to jump in and clarify what I'm saying.
Hopefully mine's better, which that's probably not too hard to accomplish. So yeah, with that, it's a numbers game. So it's if we did one extra shift, so it'd go from 5 to 6, you wouldn't see the realization of being able to drop. That's what the 8 comes in. So while 8 is a bigger number of staff to take on, it really is more physically beneficial because you get those extra savings. That's where you can staff that extra ambulance. You can reduce your overtime. The other thing that happens is, we'll be hiring newer people, so they're at a lower rate. So with their overtime rate would be lower. They wouldn't be able to do certain overtime until they are trained to a certain level. So there's all those other options as well. So it gives us a lot of benefits to that aspect.
Okay. And then some of that savings can go toward their new uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that.
Kristen.
I found my question. So the ambulance fee collection, you said it was $120,000.
Roughly 120,000 is what we
A
estimate.
little more. So, so you would be more likely to regain that because you have more staff to take the calls.
Yes, so we can cover those second and third. So if we send a crew out on a ambulance call, that's 4 people that goes out and leaves 1 person back at the station. We get a second ambulance call, 2 of those guys have to jump in our squad, our secondary, and take it to the call, and maybe the captain back here takes the ambulance. We get a third call, we can't cover that. Or if we have to commit 3 people to the ambulance because it's a serious enough medical call, we can't cover that. That's the calls we would anticipate being able to cover. And the other thing is not just the revenue, but the fact is, if we're in town and we can respond to that call, we can provide life-saving measures much quicker than if we have to call an ambulance from Marlboro, South, Westboro, Shrewsbury. We have that ambulance in town and staff. We can cover that.
Thank you.
Julianne.
So as I'm putting this picture together, is it safe to say that, because 8 sounds like a big number, is it safe to say that we're kind of catching up for years that we were maybe not staffing optimally?
Yeah, it's funny, the deputy and I were having this discussion today and trying to think how we're going to present this tonight. And 8, to be honest with you, isn't enough. 8 gets us where we should have been before. So in other words, 7 a shift is the bare minimum that I would like to have. I would like to have more, but I think we need to be realistic in what we expect the town to take on. It's foolish to come in and say you need to increase us by 4 people a shift. It's just not realistic. You need to increase us by 3 people a shift. So we try to be realistic while still getting the service we need. But Julianne, you're very accurate. We're playing catch up.
And what are our chances of getting the grant?
That's a great question. Hopefully, I have some pretty good grant writers. One of them is sitting on the screen here, looking at you, Deputy Spazey. Don't turn around. And I also have Michael Parr, who is our hazmat. Yeah, I think some of you guys have met Michael. Michael writes a great, and we can justify why we need the grant, and that's the whole thing. That data that we have. You guys know I'm a data geek, but that data makes the difference. When you're submitting a federal grant, you can say A, B, C, D, and I can hit all of these things. They're going to say, "Yeah, you're right. You're a 1720 community, and this is what you need, and here you go."
Okay, thanks.
Thank you,
Laura.
Thank you for putting this information together. And I just want to acknowledge how much I appreciate the firefighters that we have and the work that they're doing. And I underestimated the pressure that staffing caused for them. And I apologize that so many of those prior requests weren't heard. And I do, the financial impact is important to me, but I would rather, their health and well-being is critically important to me. So I want to understand the financial picture of it, but I definitely understand the benefit that would, give to the rest of the team to have that pressure alleviated on them.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that.
Not so much of a question or as a comment, and just like the financial picture going forward is, we have a lot of fire expenses coming up, so just trying to figure out what that's going to look like. But our people are our most important asset at the end of the day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Just one thing to piggyback
Sure,
on that, and either Laura either Julianne or Lisa mentioned this too. I think Lisa, that it's not just, being married to a physician who has to take call. It's not just the experience of the staff, which is very important for them to have like reasonable working conditions. Absolutely. And I fully support that. But if you're the one on the other end of it, when they're totally overworked, that's not good for you either. And we have a lot of people in town who deserve, well rested and well cared for paramedics and firefighters. So thanks for bringing that up, the two of you who brought that up. It's a really, really important point. Yeah.
A couple of questions. One is on timing.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that the grant is open from, I think you said February through September, something like that. The question is when do you hear back, and when would, assuming that we say go forth and that the grant is awarded, when do those people actually start? And I'm thinking about how to timing it in with the budget.
That's a great question. So what happens is the grant window opens up in February. That's when we can apply for the grant. It's about a 30-day window normally. So it goes from February to March, maybe into April, depends on when it opens. Then federal government, moving at the speed of a snail like it normally does, has to review everything. These grants are actually reviewed by people like myself and the deputy. They go to Emmitsburg, Maryland, and they read all these grants. And first they're done by computer, and then they're done by individuals. Once they determine who's going to be awarded, the awards start about 4 to 6 months after the grant submission. Okay, so we're talking July, August is when they start awarding grants. And then they're done in batches. So I just saw one that was awarded last week. So they're still awarding grants. So you don't know if you're going to be in the first batch or the last batch. And then once they award it to you, there's a 6-month window for hiring.
Okay.
So they understand that you can't turn around and say, first of all, you can't hire and then get the grant because they really frown on it. So you have this 6-month window. And then once you hire, that's when the clock starts for the 36 months.
Okay.
Right. So let's say if we got applied in February, found out in, let's say, July, hired next January, and then and then it would be January to January.
Okay. Good. So that, in all likelihood, we would have probably at least half a fiscal year to think about for next year. So, I mean, that leads into, there are some subsequent conversations that should probably take place with the Appropriations Committee about some of the details about how to plan for this.
I agree.
The hiring of the 8 firefighters is great. There's no downside to that at all for the first 3 years. Some costs. There's then a big hit that needs to be planned for very, very carefully of, roughly $1 million a year, it sounds like, after the 3 years. That's probably the largest single salary increase that the town may have ever seen. I don't know. 8 people going onto the payroll at once is a lot. So that needs to be carefully planned for. I remember some discussions with you, I think it was with you early on, that there was a question about, well, what happens if 3 years we hire the firefighters and, I don't know, we hit a recession or whatever, and town meeting in 3 years says, no, we don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not suggesting it will happen. I don't think it will. I think this town will support it. What happens at that point? Do we repay any money, or do we not have to?
Great question. As I said, this grant has morphed from it first started to be. It was a 5-year grant. If you didn't keep them, you had to pay back everything that you took. If you hired them and Fed paid you for 5 years, and you said, "Okay, we're done. We're laying them off," you had to pay back everything. That went away completely. So if you hire them, you keep them for 3 years, and there's a recession, like you said, or something drastic happens, and you decide we can't do it, then we'd lay off. But the layoffs then are by seniority. It's done through. So it may or may not be the 8 you hired. It could be 8 completely different people.
Again, I hope and project that would not happen here, but I want to recognize, I mean, one of the uncomfortable things about this is that it puts on the select board the authority to go ahead and commit to some very large expenses that don't have to go to town meeting because they're being funded through a grant. But then at the end of that 3-year process, or rolling on, is that proposal, all of a sudden it becomes a town meeting commitment. So I wanted to at least understand that, so folks at home know that. And I knew the answer to that because you would explain that to me. But I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. I think that's in theory, if we can't afford at the end of the process to keep them on, we wouldn't be obligated to repay $2.7 million. That would be even harder to do.
And Mitch, in addition to that, a lot of times what this grant do, kind of the first rounds of these grants, is to hire back people that had to be laid off. So in the future grants, if that ever happened and this grant was still available and things got better, they would be the first funded to try to come back.
Yep.
Actually, there's a related question of not the layoffs. I don't want to go there, but how long of a gap do you have? Like, let's say we do this, we hire the 8 firefighters and all is good. Can you then apply some number of years later for the same grant or a similar grant again if the town was at that point justified in growing it further.
Yeah, very much so. In fact, a lot of departments will do it a year and a half apart. So they'll apply, and then they'll wait a year and a half, and then they'll apply again, or they'll wait 2 years, and that's to spread it. But let's say if we wanted 16 firefighters, and town, we want you to take on 16 firefighters, we do 8, and then we do 8 in the next round. Yes, there are quite a few instances of departments having 2 open safer grants at the same time.
You had said, and it certainly makes sense, that you need some new equipment for the new firefighters that are coming on. One is, I'm curious if you've costed that out, anything that you would need. And then related to that, do you foresee that then justifying any large scale expense, such as an additional ambulance, because then you've got additional staff in place?
Already ahead of you on that one there.
Yep.
So as far as the gear, yeah. So the initial cost for the first year is turnout gear. Uniforms aren't that expensive, but the turnout gear is about $3,000 a set. But we have $30,000 available for capital to cover that type of stuff within my budget. And we have some monies available within the revolving account through the EMS to cover that as well. As far as the other one goes, when I came here, we had 2 ambulances. I fought to keep a third one when we purchased a new one. So we have 2 in service and 1 backup. We're getting hopefully our new one in May. We've been waiting forever because everyone's waiting to buy it. We would have the ambulance already in the station for those people. No additional cost there.
Okay. So the one that is your backup now is still good enough to keep. So then you'd have 3 regular to go out and about and still 1. Okay.
Correct.
And also on that, if we're able to run that third ambulance, that's now creating income into the ambulance revolving fund, which helps fund the replacement ambulances.
And it also allows us to do mutual aid calls. Let's say if one of our ambulances are out and we get a call from Westboro and they need an ambulance, well, we can go over there and then we bill for that. That's an income that we
let's see, I'm just looking through my list of questions. I think, you've answered everything that I had. Anyone have any additional questions? I will remind the audience that if anyone in the audience has any input for us, you're always welcome to raise your hand at any time. I don't see any hands up, and I don't know if we would have any up. I think if we have no other questions, does the board want to start discussing their thoughts about supporting this grant? Julianne?
First, I mean, look, in 3 years, if it doesn't look like we can support it, it's not irrevocable. But I think that the fire department deserves this, and it's, why would we not take advantage of this? It's a fantastic program. We need it. We need it for all sorts of reasons. We need extra staff for all sorts of reasons. And if there's trouble down the road, we can make corrections. But I'm fully in support.
I saw Kristen and then a split second later, Lisa.
Okay, yeah, I have to get this out quick because the dog is making noises and I'm afraid she's going to start barking. So the joy of Zoom meetings. So thank you to Chief Parenti and Deputy Chief Asbasi for just doing all this work and bringing this to us. And thank you so much, Chief Parenti, for trying really hard previously so many times. And even though you were not listened to, I'm glad you came back. I'm glad that the wind's changed, and I'm glad we're able to support you, because I 100% support this idea. It's a win-win for me, and I love the idea of supporting the fire department. Oh, there's my bark. Okay, Lisa's turn.
Lisa.
I agree with, I think think it's a support from the town. It's not just from us. I think the fact that there are so many people who rely upon your services for their health and well-being, those emergencies that nobody thinks about until it happens. And then when it happens, they're just so happy to have the ability to be taken care of when that's ultimately what you need is your health. So I think that better understanding too for anybody watching that it is to write the grant. We are giving you, go ahead, write this grant. We're not just saying, oh, it's going to happen, because we really don't know actually if it will happen. We hope it will, and we hope it works as it does down the road, and that we can comfortably bring it in to the budget, because we know there's going to be a lot of budget constraints coming up. But I think all in all, I think that the work that you've done, the work that you will do. And again, I mirror what anybody has said about past requests that have not been looked at and not been supported. And I think that's something we hope to change as a group, that we are supportive and we do care, and we want to hear from you, and we want to hear from the citizens that these are things that we assume everybody is very, very aware of and has a great need. And we'd like to see it move forward. So thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I mean, I'm supportive of this. I am cautiously supportive. Given the finances, I do think we should go forward with it. One of the things I think about goes beyond the fire department, that if you, as one of our department heads, had been requesting this through staff, through the prior town administrator, and it either never got to the select board or never got much discussion, I certainly didn't see anything take place. It makes me wonder if there are other departments out there that have also been making potentially very justified salary requests, or expense requests, hiring requests, that there may be more coming that we need to think about in the totality of this. So I think it's very important. Work with the appropriations committee, work with the incoming town administrator. Hopefully the incoming town administrator will soon hire an incoming finance director, whose job, their hands will be full, planning for the budget and trying to figure out how to work in a $1 million increase in the salary line item in 3 years, in the best way possible. So yes, so I'm supportive, but there's work to be done to make it actually work. Right. Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I know it's my motion. You're just going to probably hear barking in the background. Okay.
All right.
Let me just find Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, she's so annoying. Okay. I move the board vote to approve the fire chief's application for a staffing for adequate fire and emergency response (SAFER) grant under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, grant program as presented by the fire chief, and to authorize the town administrator to submit a letter of support.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Kristen, seconded by Lisa. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Kristen?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Julianne?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. Chief, Deputy Chief, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the work preparing for this, and good luck. And I haven't looked at the paperwork that you need to do for this. I imagine if you're submitting for a grant of $2.7 million, it's not just a fill out a piece of paper and send it in.
It's a little work, but the deputy got it under control.
Great.
Thank you all very much.
And the data collection you've been doing for the last several years, I know will help with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, can you stay on for the next item?
Sure. And the next item, discussion and possible vote to approve a memorandum of agreement between the town and Northborough firefighters local 3057IAFF. Chief, do you want to just give us a quick rundown on what this is? The board is very familiar with this process of what this is, but for the public's benefit.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the collective bargaining agreement between the local and town specifies a residential requirement, and it's 15 miles from border to border. And this stems from a state law that was created back in 1978 that someone said, okay, we want our firefighters to live close by. And back then, firefighters did a lot more recall. It was a different society. A lot of things have changed in that time. We're finding that a lot of our firefighters live or want to live outside that 15-mile area, and that there's a lot of qualified people that have applied and then pull their name when they find out that they have to move into within that catchment area. So the request was that we expand that out to 40 miles. I'm happy to say that the union tonight actually had their meeting, and they voted unanimously to go forward without anything else. They were terrific, and that's where we sit. If we can get this will be terrific. It'll help with improvement. It'll help with retention, and it'll help people we currently have happy. That's great.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments from the board? Or anything else from staff? For those who watch agendas carefully, you have noticed that this was an executive session item for the last couple of meetings. That gave us the opportunity to discuss the specifics with the chief and have the right people discuss that with the union. And with that concluded, sometimes those conclude in such a way that then we discuss it publicly, and here we are. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, sorry. I move the board vote to approve the memorandum of agreement between the town and the firefighters union local 3057 IAFF.
Second.
Motion's been made by Laura, seconded by Julianne. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Laura?
Aye.
Julianne?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. Thank you, Chief, Deputy Chief, and all of the firefighters. I hope this makes it a little bit easier to fill your ranks, and once we get this grant, to continue to do so.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you
guys.
very much for joining us tonight. Let's see. Next up, we have discussion and possible vote to approve a contract between the town and town administrator, Timothy McNerney. We put this on the agenda with the expectation that we would receive all of the information that we needed to from our search consultants in advance of tonight, and having us give that one final review. That hasn't come in yet. We think that's going to come in tomorrow. So in anticipation of that, we're going to be scheduling a meeting for Friday morning to officially go through that and finalize that process. So we're passing over any other discussion or vote on that tonight. And next up, sorry, Julie, sorry, Mike.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Through you, I just wanted to let you know that I heard from the folks at MRI, and they're going to overnight the data to my attention tonight. So we should have it tomorrow.
Fantastic. Great. Yep. Just, let me know when that arrives, and we'll make sure everyone has a chance to review that in advance of Friday. Okay. Appreciate that. Reports. Let's see. Laura, any reports tonight?
Yes. It has been a busy couple of weeks, and there has been some really just amazing opportunities to connect with the community. So I had the honor to speak at the tree lighting. Many thanks again to Community Affairs for hosting that. It was a beautiful event. It was 50 degrees. It was maybe the most picture perfect tree lighting in history from a weather perspective. And it was well attended. And it was thank you to the firemen, to the policemen, and to the DPW, as well as all the other groups, the honor guard that made that possible. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to attend Frank Brown Jr.'s Quilt of Valor ceremony at the American Legion. Mr. Brown is a World War II veteran who assisted with the nuclear bomb, and he did a lot of great work. So it was really nice to celebrate him yesterday. I got to run the Northborough Turkey Trot organized by Northborough Recreation. There were over 700 runners and walkers. It was an amazing turnout, another perfect weather day, and I think everybody had a really great time. Thanks to everyone that made that event possible. I got to attend the Thanksgiving gathering that was coordinated by Kristen Black from the Board of Health for our guests from South America at St. Bernadette's. I especially thank all the volunteers who continue to devote their time to ensure the well-being of our guests. And this is a really nice opportunity to reconnect with all of them. The Northborough Girl Scouts are hosting a giving tree from now until January 6th to help people in Northborough and surrounding communities. If you want to donate hats, scarves, and other items to help keep the community warm, there's a tree in the lobby at the Northborough Library where you can donate those. And then this last is an update for the Community Acts. Community Acts is a non-denominational teen and youth community service group through Trinity Church. They have partnered with the Northborough Health Department to establish a giving tree for our guests this holiday season. Trees have been set up at St. Rose and Trinity, and a sign-up genius has been created for online participation. They're hoping to receive all the gifts by December 17th. So if you are interested in participating, you can visit Trinity, St. Rose, or you can email the Northborough Community Group at trinitycenorthborough@gmail.com. And that wraps up my report.
Thanks, Laura. Kristen, any reports tonight?
She's still barking. I just gave her a bone and everything. I don't know what to do. She's my first dog ever. Maybe I shouldn't go right now. Let me deal with the dog.
Sure, I'll come back to you. Julianne, any reports tonight?
Yeah, just a quick, the Garden Club annually sponsors Holiday Enchantment, where they have a speaker and raffles, and you can buy some greens. And that event is being held this Saturday, December 9th at Trinity Church. There will at 12:30 p.m. and the location has changed. So online it asked if you would please sign up for the event beforehand, because it was originally scheduled for the library, which has limited seating, but now we have more seating. So if you want to attend, just come on down Saturday afternoon to Trinity Church for some festivities. That's it for me.
Thanks, Julianne. Lisa, any reports tonight?
Just a few. I wasn't able to attend a couple of those events that Laura talked about. I did happen to send over a sweet potato dish, however, to the Thanksgiving dinner. And I today spent quite some time with the fire chief and Deputy Aspesi. And I've been invited, like all of us, for a ride along, so we really know what's going on. I hear that Kristen will be going soon. It's very exciting. I've done some firework before, and I'm looking forward to riding along and watching what's happening in town. And I want to say that we do, we're a new board. We're learning a lot of new things. We're learning of things that are important. And I love the fact that we have open communication with our staff and are striving to do more of that. There was a discussion about the benefits of having a liaison to the fire department that they had mentioned, and I'm all for that. I think it's the more we communicate with each other, the better it is. So that I wanted to bring that forward as our discussion. And then I wanted to again bring up our goals. We haven't set aside a time for that. I think it's important that we set a time for that. I asked, I think at the last meeting, about the complete streets and asked for a report on that. I have not heard. And the last but not least, the building reports request of the municipal buildings that we've had, that I thought we were going to have a kind of this is where it's starting and this is what it's going to need to fix. And I have had a few people say to me, I noticed that there's something going on at 4 West Main Street whether it's the roof or water coming in, running down the side of the building. I would definitely like to have that looked at because we don't want to have more water intrusion issues for any of our other municipal buildings. So that concludes my reports, and thank you for letting me make them.
Thank you, Lisa. Kristen, you're in a position to provide a report?
I am now. She's in another room. So I'm glad that Laura and Lisa both had a chance to go to the fire department. I had this tour at the police department a few months ago, so it was fun to go to the fire. Well, I had a tour at the fire station, but I had never really like chatted with the fire chief, and then I got to meet deputy chief last week. I really didn't understand the gory details of the condition of the current fire station sewer problems and the workloads of the firefighters. So they gave me some good ideas on ways to keep our staff and our firefighters and our police in mind as we keep this town going. And yes, I did get invited to go for a ride along. So I'm going this Thursday and I'm super excited. They did say that it's a Murphy's Law thing with the fire department that, the one day that I go or any of us go, it'll be really slow. And then as soon as we leave, they get a million calls. So a couple of them said that. So we'll see how it goes. Speaking of the fire department, as I said, I paid a little more careful after visiting with the fire chief and the deputy chief. I spent a little more time on their report this month, and I'll do that with the police next meeting. But anyway, at the end of the report, there is a survey that someone had filled out, a resident who had the paramedics come help them. And the survey rates communication, courteousness, compassion, and some other things. And the paramedics that showed up at this call got 5s on each item, which is the highest. The person said, though they hate to have to call the ambulance, relatable, every time they've had to, they get A1, fantastic service and personnel. That's a quote. I thought I'd point that out and say thanks so much to the guys at the Northborough Fire Department. And I am also on the Town Hall Feasibility Study Committee, which I have not yet mentioned in my reports because we haven't really done anything yet except talk. But at our last meeting, it was a big deal. We voted to which architects are going to do the actual feasibility study, and we chose Icon Architecture. They have built and renovated many town halls, and we felt they were the experts in that specific type of building. Town halls are very specific and have very specific needs, but they were also very open-minded as to the options for our future town hall. And just to give everybody a little background, the 4 sites that they're considering are the current town hall, 63 Main Street, 4 West Main Street, White Cliffs, or the current fire station is the 4th choice. And which one would be the best solution for Northborough? So that'll be exciting going forward to see what they do. The scholarship committee is very busy right now. They are doing a fundraiser. They actually did an auction that ended at 8 o'clock to get more donations, but they're also just accepting donations. And there's a lot of information about what they're up to on the scholarship committee page on the town website. And if you have any questions, you can go to northboroughscholarships@gmail.com. You can email that and they will, I believe it's probably Liz Nolan who will answer your email, and she knows everything. So more on that. They have some other things happening, more details on their sneaker. They did a big sneaker drive, and that is evidently pretty successful. So Liz is going to give me the details of that for our next meeting. And then I'm going to go back to something I haven't done in a long time. I'm going to give you a quote, and this quote is sort of like a poem. And Julianne's like, oh, Kristen, she's doing quotes and poems again, because I haven't done them for a while. But anyway, this one's by Oliver Herford, and I just thought it was so perfect, and we all need it right now. I heard a bird sing in the dark of December, a magical thing and sweet to remember. We are nearer to spring than we were in September. I heard a bird sing in the dark of December. And that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. And thank you for the return of the quotes and poems. Couple of things. Last meeting, I mentioned the Toys for Tots, where you can bring toys to the fire station. At that point, I think tomorrow night, the 5th, was going to be the end date. They have since extended it to December 11th. You can bring toys to the fire department any day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Let's see. I was going to mention something about the fire station building committee process during the discussion about the grant. Particular thing is, if anyone is worried that, oh, gee, you were designing the fire station for the old staffing level, and now all of a sudden you're talking about adding more people. The fire station was designed with the expectation of increase of staff. So this will not change our design process whatsoever. At this past year's town meeting approved 2 charter changes. One of them was the removal of the residency requirement for the town administrator. I'm pleased to report that that has been signed into law just a few days ago on the 28th of November. Governor Healy signed that. And then the second one, which is the formal renaming of Board of Selectmen to Select Board, is trailing behind that just by a little bit. And I don't know exactly when that'll finish up in the legislature and go over to the governor's desk, but I imagine sometime in the pretty near future. The tree lighting, which was already mentioned, was awesome. Lori did a fantastic job with your speech. And it was so nice to have so many people there and all the kids singing and everything else. It was very nice. And related to that, on Wednesday, the 13th of December at 5 p.m. will be the town menorah lighting to celebrate the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. I will be there. I'd ask any member of the community of any faith or religion or none at all, please join us. We will have donuts and possibly some other fun treats that evening as well. And that ends my report. And next up on our agenda are town administrator reports. Mike, do you have anything for us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything additional for you this evening.
Okay. Di, anything for us tonight? You're muted.
My space bar is not working. I don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up on our agenda is we have execution of Cemetery Deed 1181. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move the board to vote to execute Cemetery Deed 1181.
Second.
Motion's been made by Lisa, seconded by Kristen. Any discussion? All those in favor, Lisa?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Julianne?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. Is there any other business that anyone has for Julianne? You have something? Yes.
So, Lisa mentioned a few topics that we've all been waiting to discuss, and I can add to that list. Sustainability Committee wants to talk to us. We have White Cliffs that we need to talk about, ARPA money. And I wonder if it would be helpful at the end of every meeting, and to write this as an agenda topic, that we discuss future agenda items so that we kind of know when these topics will be coming up. Because personally, I like a lot of time to prepare for things. And I just think it would answer a lot of questions and help us to know when we're going to address these issues.
Yeah, I think something like that makes some sense. I think when I first joined the board, I mentioned that when I served on the board in another town a number of years ago, we instituted a future agenda topic sort of section to the agenda page, and it listed items that were tentatively identified for sometime in the next few meetings. It was never comprehensive because it can't be, and it was never definitive because it can't be. But for major topics that the public is interested in and board members are interested in, something like that can make some sense. And sometimes it's helpful to know if even there's a liquor license coming up or a common vic license for a new restaurant. Sometimes that's nice because people ask us, when is that restaurant opening? We might be able to tentatively answer that question. I think that's something to work on with our new town administrator once they're in place. Because that's preparing us for meetings is a significant job of the town administrator. But I think working on something like that does make some sense. I do expect that hopefully at our next meeting that we may have something for White Cliffs to hear from the planning director, and I am also hoping that Complete Streets will be ready for presentation then. I don't know that for sure. And I think, Mike, you had said that the building assessment report is pretty close to being ready to come to us.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, through you, I apologize. I thought I had sent that to you already. I will get that into everyone's inbox tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, great. And if there's something that we should discuss as part of that, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know, then we can certainly put it on an agenda for further discussion.
Thank you.
Sure. I assume no other business. We have one more public comment item. If anyone in the public would like to offer any input, now would be the time to raise your virtual hand. Going once, going twice. No takers on public comment at all tonight. It's been quiet. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Julianne, seconded by Kristen to adjourn. No, there's no discussion under Robert's rules for adjourning. All those in favor, Julianne?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. We are adjourned 9:07 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.